Before I actually came back to YouTube, I actually been working in corporate and actually trying to make my way into the corporate world and trying to go up the ladder. And I've had this idea when I was working with a company because it's been in the news that Disney is looking for a new direction, a new CEO, a successor to Bob Iger. And so that got me thinking while I was at this company, what would be my take on the direction of the company? Now, Disney as a company is gigantic and enormous, so trying to undertake that task would be daunting for anybody, let alone somebody just on YouTube. But I figured I'd try anyway. So I put up a list so far. I'm only halfway done yet, but I just feel like I needed to share this right away. So right here, I still got to do this part, which will probably be done by the time I'm done editing this video. But since you clicked on this video anyway, we're going to discuss all of these bullet points and create new bullet points as to what I would do as CEO of Disney. So we have a lot to discuss and a lot to go over with. So let's start with just everything Disney owns, all of its subsidiary companies. So we have ESPN, Pixar, Marvel, Disney Plus, the video game division, which has been shut down, but we're going to talk about that soon. TV, movies, Star Wars, or otherwise LucasArts or Lucasfilm, the resorts, the cruise lines, the Disney parks, the hotels. Now, Disney Animation and Disney Films all fall under TV and movies. And so we're going to be talking about everything that we can to try to steer the direction of Disney into more successful waters. Not just financial terms, but also culturally impact, just as Disney was when I was a kid. So let's start off with ESPN. Now, ESPN, we're going to be talking about ESPN along with ABC and Live TV. So, Live TV, ABC, and ESPN is all going to be moving towards Disney Plus, and we're going to leave Hulu behind. I know we have a 60-something% stake into Hulu, but it really doesn't make financial sense to be managing two streaming services when we can barely manage Disney Plus as it is. So, Hulu is a great service. It's become redundant. So, why would you have Hulu when Disney Plus is already there? And why would you have Hulu or Disney Plus when there's so many other streaming sites out there and all of it costs like a lot of money? So from what I propose, the new strategy should be that Disney Plus, we create a new tier that is free access to Disney Plus, but with ads. And then we have the $7.99 access with ads, but you get HD and multiple screening views and multiple profiles. And then the third tier, $11.99, same thing, 4K this time, and you'll have access to multiple different profiles for your family. Now, why are we introducing a new tier, a new free tier to Disney Plus? And that is because our main competitor, the biggest competitors are Netflix and YouTube. And so we can already beat Netflix to the punch and catch up to where YouTube is. YouTube is free with ads. You could create a profile or an account for Google and enter YouTube for free. You don't have to pay to access the website or the streaming services. You just access it with creating an account for free. So Disney Plus, our competitor is YouTube. It's not really HBO Max or Paramount Plus or any other of these streaming services. It's actually YouTube that's our biggest competitor. And so what would drive subscribers and drive our financial portfolio are all these free subscribers that are joining and watching the ads while they watch the newest TV show that just debuted or the newest TV movie that just premiered. So they'll have access to selective content for free. While $7.99, you get the content in HD and you get access to exclusive shows until that exclusivity time window closes and that show that debuted it under the $7.99 and $11.99 goes into the free tier maybe like 3-4 months after, or depending on whatever the timetable, we could try to figure that out. And we're going to talk about how Live TV incorporates into all this when we get down to the TV section. Pixar, we're going to continue the original content and continue making sequels. However, Pixar, we should start the PCU, which is the Pixar Cinematic Universe. We could create a storyline where we have team-up films with characters from The Incredibles, Monsters, Inc., Toy Story, WALL-E. And all of this wouldn't just happen out of nowhere. It will be built up to that event. So we will introduce a new character in a new film that's able to, let's say, transfer the multiverse of the Pixar universe. But we'll introduce its own story first and its own villain that is so enormously powerful that it interacts with other universes of the Pixar universe. And so we wanted to create the PCU because trying to innovate Pixar and to try to drive them into brand new storytelling that some may not like and think it's impossible to achieve. But Pixar reaches quality content that outmatches every other studio. So, Pixar creating the Pixar Cinematic Universe. Next up, we have Marvel. Marvel is going through a bit of a rocky turn right now, but it is churning with Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four coming with Kevin Feige back in charge. So, for Marvel, we want to reboot the whole universe, and Kevin Feige can continue full creative control. Or if he wishes to move on to a greater challenge, we'll have to find a successor who will still have the same creative control. But if Kevin Feige wishes to stay after the reboot, then by all means, he can stay. So the Marvel Universe, reboot it and keep the keys to the kingdom as close as you can with creators who are actually well experienced and talented. Don't just give it away to some rando who just got into the industry and has no talent. So we have to keep talent at a maximum A level so that our content could be at A level. Now let's go to video games. Video games, we want to reintroduce the Disney Interactive Studios and Buena Vista Games. Now these studios have been closed down for the fact that we went into licensing our IP for video games as our strategy. Now we can still continue licensing IP to third parties like Epic Games and Sony PlayStation, but I think it'll be really great for the Disney brand to have its own in-house studio to create. It could be low budgeted independent games using our IP. That way we get a quick turnaround, maybe 1 to 2 years of development. And it's not so high of a bar. We could leave the AAA development to external studios to licensing, and all the smaller AA and indie games in-house studios. So I believe that's what the video game we should be doing with the video game division, and at least one video game per IP. So we should try to reach that goal of having at least one video game per IP that we produce. Next up, we have the TV division. Okay, TV. Everything is on Disney Plus. Everything TV will be on Disney Plus. This includes live TV. This will include original content and one show per IP. So if we have an IP that's really well liked, but we're not utilizing it, let's at least make one show. And with the free ads here, the people can be able to fund directly by watching the ads and by continually supporting the show as it airs on Disney Plus. Since we're going to have live TV on Disney Plus, we can premiere TV movies again. I used to love TV movies when I was a kid watching Disney Channel. We can have Disney Channel back up on Disney Plus because we'll have the free tier with ads. So the free tier with ads gives us so much leeway and so many opportunities for beloved shows to come back or to create new beloved shows. And that's what the new live free TV tier will be able to do. And so we'll have $15.99 that's separate from the other two tiers. So you have to add $15.99 to access the live TV. And if you want Disney Plus and live TV together, you pay $29.99 a month. Okay, so we're about halfway there. And I just wanted to show you. And this is the list, halfway through the list. Hopefully you got a good sense of it. Okay, so let's go through the other half of the list and see what we could come up with. And we're gonna go one by one. So we're gonna hit up, we're gonna hit up Star Wars. So Star Wars and Lucasfilm, we're going to obviously have a new successor. We're gonna have a new CEO come in. So Star Wars, we want them to follow the strategy that we have right here. At least one video game per IP. So in the Star Wars universe, we should at least have one Star Wars game, at least one. We could have more than one, but we could at least have one. And we could reintroduce LucasArts, the video game division of Lucasfilm, alongside Buena Vista Games, and have them work together, united, to pump out video game content. Now, Lucasfilm, in the Star Wars universe, we're going to need to reboot the whole universe, meaning everything is open-ended right now. Everything is out and unplanned. So what we need to do is create a storyline that combines everything from 9 films and reaches a conclusive ending. So episode 10, 11, 12, we need to conclude everything from episode 1 to 9. And so we can use story plot lines like The World Between Worlds and introduce new characters and new villains, characters that are such a tremendous threat that requires our main protagonist to go into the world between worlds and meet up our characters from the prequels, the sequels, and the original trilogy. And so the new characters from episode 10, 11, and 12 would pose such an enormous threat that our protagonists from the new films would need to go into the world between worlds to get heroes such as let's say Obi-Wan and Anakin and Luke Skywalker and other characters, to bring them out of their timelines into the future timeline that we're in episode 10, 11, 12, to fight together to bring down this great threat that poses a greater threat than anything the universe has ever seen before. That way, we'd be able to tie a bow and a solid conclusive ending to the Skywalker storyline. Now, this would take a tremendous amount of time and a tremendous amount of work from everybody, but it would be able to give the fans a conclusive ending and sort of closure on the Skywalker saga, so that we can move past the Skywalker saga and go into, let's say, the Old Republic or a new branch of the universe and go further into the future. But we cannot get there until we get closure on and heal the damage that has been done over these couple of years. And in order to do that, we have to create a storyline that can reassure everything together and bring it to a conclusive and a good closure of an ending. And so once that's done, then we can branch out. Then we can move across the universe, and move away from the Skywalkers, go into the Old Republic, go into other stories, and introduce new characters and stories that are beloved with the fans. So Lucasfilm, along with other subsidiary companies, will have at least one TV show. And so we'll have at least one TV show debut on Disney Plus, and we'll have one video game in the Star Wars universe, alongside original stories that comes from Lucasfilm and could come from other subsidiary companies such as Marvel and Pixar and so on and so forth. So Lucasfilm and Star Wars, that is where we want the direction to be headed towards. And all of this will be a collaborative effort when it comes to the resorts, the cruise line, the parks, and the hotels. Now, all of this is a grand package that we need to infuse our intellectual properties and incorporate them into the parks, the cruise lines, the hotels, and the resorts. Now, how do we do this? Now, let's start with the resorts. Now, here you're going to see a picture of a Disney resort. You see it's by the beach. It's very pretty and it's very nice. However, you lack a sense of immersion. And so the idea would be that you would take a cruise line to the resort, and in the resort you'll have interactive experiences. You could, storm the beach with rebels alongside you and fight off against a boss enemy. It could be Darth Vader. He's approaching from the water, and you have to protect the plans. You have to protect a particular rebel plan at the beach, and you have to fight off stormtroopers that are trying to storm the beach, and you're there alongside the rebels, stopping that from happening. And at the resort, we'll have the costumes all laid out for you. We'll have costumes available. We'll have the gear available. It'll be laced with new technology from Disney Imagineering. We'll have new storylines and new experiences that would make the trip worth it, that would bring value to the trip, not just go to the resort and hang around and not really do much. It kind of gets kind of boring. And so to immerse yourself into the world of, let's say, a Star Wars, or you immerse yourself into the world of a Monsters Inc., or you immerse yourself into the world of Toy Story, that is what the resorts should be doing. It should immerse you into whatever world that you want to travel to. And on the cruise lines, from the port to the resorts, you can have characters from Disney Animations, from Pixar, from Lucasfilm, from Marvel, all hanging around at the bar, hanging around at the theater downstairs, hanging around the food lounge, hanging around the pool lounge. You can have characters walk around. It's kind of like the Disney parks, but you have them on the cruise lines, and you have them interacting with the passengers, and you have them giving storylines and giving character details about themselves. So all those things that actually make you feel like you're in a new entire world. And with characters such as this one, we can have Disney Imagineering invest into new technologies such as AI robotics, and have AI robotic versions of our characters placed in different parts of the ships. And also into the resorts, we could have clone troopers and stormtroopers at the resorts. We could have superheroes, Marvel heroes at the resorts, on the beaches or in the hotels. And the hotels, the same way we're doing with the cruise lines, we do at the hotels. Everything that you're going to do at a Disney resort, at a Disney cruise line, at a Disney hotel must make you feel immersed into the world that you're stepping into. And so imagine you're going to the hotel and then you see Sully from Monsters Inc. just walking around. You see Woody at the station at a lounge. You see Woody with receptionists. You see Wally just rolling around, and you feel like, oh my God, I am in the Disney universe. Everywhere I go I'm in Disney's universe. And that is what the immersion must sell to the consumer to make the trip worthy enough, to make it feel like I got value out of this trip. And so that brings us to the Disney parks. Now, the Disneyland parks, we're going to transform the way we're doing ticketing. And so ticketing, we're going to do away with Fast Pass, and we're going to do away with lines and upfront tickets. And so what this means is we're going to evolve the Disneyland theme parks just as the movie theaters evolve their seating. So we're going to incorporate reserved seating for a Disneyland ride. Now, access to the parks would be at an admission of, let's say, $29.99. So you could pay $29.99 to enter the park, but that doesn't guarantee you a ticket to ride because that would have to be reserved in advance. So for example, I go up to the Disneyland ticketing booth and I say, I want a ticket to enter the park. Okay, it'll be $29.99. Thank you, I get my ticket, $29.99, and enter the park. Now I have the ability to see if there's any rides available. Who knows, maybe somebody didn't reserve for 3 o'clock. Oh, there's a 3 o'clock ride available, maybe I could go and check it out. And so with the Disney reservations, we'll be able to reserve Disney park rides for guests who book ahead of advance. So you won't be able to book a month in advance, but let's say you'll be able to book a week in advance. So let's say I want to go to Disney World for a week. Great. And I make my plans to take the shuttle to the hotel, and I make my plans for the whole week. I enter on Sunday and I leave the next Sunday. I could book and reserve all of my rides that I would want to take. And now it will be limited, so you won't be able to, stock up on all the reservations and take all the rides and take it over and over and over again. And we'll guarantee at least 3 reservations per ride, so we'll be able to ride either in the morning, the afternoon, or the evening. And that will be up to the consumer in the Disneyland reservation app. So you'll be able to reserve a Disney park. You'll be able to reserve a Disney park ride at 2 o'clock afternoon. But if you reserve at 2 o'clock afternoon, then you're pretty much set. You can't really reserve again and again and again because then you'll be abusing the system and then nobody else is going to have a chance to ride the ride. So with the Disneyland reservations, we give you the option to guarantee you a ride at a Disneyland park. And you could ride every single ride as long as you book it in advance and you reserve it in advance. See, the movie theaters had that issue and they evolved into reserved seating. And I believe that Disney parks can evolve just as much and create a reservation system for paid guests. And so we got $29.99 for upfront admission. That gives you access to the park for the whole day. So you can spend as much as your time buying merchandise, eating the food, and seeing the Disneyland experience, fireworks at the very end of the show. That gives you access to that. Now let's say you pay $79.99 for the ability to reserve a park ride, one of your choosing. And you'll be able to do so at different times of the day. But they don't repeat because if you repeat it, then the system can be abused by the consumer and then nobody else is going to be able to ride a ride. And so $29.99 for admission into the park, but it doesn't guarantee you a ride. $79.99 for entry to the park, but it does guarantee you a reservation to a ride. And then these prices can fluctuate or increase or decrease however the system works. This new strategy is not only pro-consumer, it's also pro-business. So it's actually helping our financial portfolio at the same time while reinvigorating the Disney fan base and also making just a better system in general. And now for the Disney film division, we're going to continue working on sequels to our IP. And we're also going to continue making new original stories that impact the culture. And so the whole purpose is to create human stories. Is to create stories that humans, doesn't matter if you're tall, small, a different complexion of your color, it doesn't matter because the story speaks to you no matter what, because the story comes from a human experience. It comes from the relationships between our mothers and our fathers, our parents, our friends, our family, our dreams, our hopes and dreams. It comes from those experiences. And so we should make stories and create stories that speak to that human experience. And therefore, the characters we create will be able to be relatable to the people watching because of the human experience that they go through, such as their relationship with their father and mother, their relationship with their friends on the playground, their friends in high school, their friends in college, their coworkers. So all of these human experiences must be related through our stories. That way, it becomes timeless, and we can impact the culture in an unprecedented way. And so, for Disney films and for Disney TV, we want to evolve and grow as a division. And so we want to create new stories, but also find new ways to tell new stories. And so we've had 2D animation and 3D animation. We want to evolve and see what comes after that. What is it that we can do that maybe is a new form of animation? Or we could reintroduce 2D animation, but in a new way. We could utilize 3D animation to an even greater heights. but we want to innovate on the underlying technology and find new ways to tell new stories so that the consumers can be amazed at everything that we put out. And so our stories and our characters, when it comes to every single subsidiary company, and when it comes to our services, it needs to be top tier. It needs to be A plus. We can't accept lower than A, because to accept lower than the very best of the best would only decrease our value as a company as a whole. And finally, whoever does become the next CEO of Disney and the next successor, hopefully we'll be able to take some of these ideas, or we'll be able to take these initiatives and strategies and implement them to the best of their ability. And so this is what it is. I'm just catching up on a few books, a few stuff that I've been doing. Speaking of which, I actually wrote this book. It took me about 7 months to write, but it's all done and it's all finished. So go ahead and check out my book. Maybe we might even start a book club and start talking about the stuff in this book. So let me know if you're interested in that. Now let's continue on with the video. So like I said, I've been working in the corporate world for not that much of a long time, probably within like a year or so. And so just my experiences in corporate with executive teams and just seeing how things are operated and seeing how things are implemented and in terms of policy and new ideas, I would have to say that it's very hard for the tunnel of information to get up to the top in terms of new strategies and new ideas to implement and to improve the standing of a company. Now, what you will need business-wise is for a clear line of communication so that everybody working at Disney feels like they're being listened to, so that they feel like that their voices are being heard and that their ideas are actually being taken into account. Because in order to create a new pathway, in order to implement a new strategy, it requires the whole team. And the whole team needs to feel like they're part of the crew. They need to feel like they're part of the ship. And you need to promote good effort. You need to be able to promote that we value the effort that you put into the company. And so I work with a lot of companies that don't really promote that. They really they really kill ideas from the very start and don't really go forward with any ideas. And that's how you become stagnant. That's how the company eventually dies. So if you want to be successful in terms of our financial portfolio and also in terms of the culture and the impact we have on society, you need to be able to hear from your team and from your employees and from your workers, because they may have ideas that they never had a chance to even voice out. And so we can have yearly strategic meetings from employees. Anybody that has great, interesting ideas, come up with a portfolio, come up with a presentation, and we'll be able to hear them and we'll be able to listen to them. And that way that promotes a good work environment so that everybody working at Disney feels like that the work that they're doing is valued, and that way it improves the value of the company overall, not only to shareholders and stockholders, but also to our consumers and also to our employees. But that's been my sort of presentation as to what I would do as CEO of the Disney Corporation or the CEO of a company in general. So after working with executive teams in the corporate world for a relatively short time, I feel like that there's many improvements that could be made. And I feel like that there's many ideas that haven't been really heard from. And this is just an example of some ideas that could have been taken into account, but unfortunately they haven't been. So that's been this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click the bell notifications so that you can be notified whenever I upload my next video. And that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.